All right, let's create some slides. So, all right, everybody, welcome to the stream. This is something very special today. So I am going to demonstrate how I create my slides. And let me quickly switch the screen here. Okay, perfect. So I've created a ton of slides over the years, and my favorite tool for creating slides is Keynote, and I think it's one of the best tools out there, one of the best apps on the Mac. You can use it for so many things. I think Apple even has a talk where they show how to use Keynote to mock up phone applications or applications in general. No, I'll say that there are better tools for prototyping apps these days, but if you just have a couple of ideas and you want to throw them together, Keynote is your tool. And it's free, right? So it comes with your Mac, so you can just use it. And just for playing around, I think it's really fine. All right, okay, this is looking good. Let's double check how we're doing on all the other platforms. LinkedIn seems to be streaming. I don't know what's going on Twitter, but YouTube seems to be fine. Great, let's do this. So let's go into this screen here. So the reason why this is so special is that it's almost not prepared, and I'll actually show you how I work, because I will show you how I build slides for for a video that I'm currently working on. So we have this application here, it's called Friendly Meals, and you can get it from the Firebase extended repository. It's a meal planning application, and we've been using it to drive our videos. And the thing that I'm currently working on is this nutrition scanner that you see on the right-hand side. And I've been using structured generation and thinking to power that. And maybe before we get into building the slides, I'm gonna show you how this works. So let me run this on my phone. And then if things go well, so let me bring my projector over here. Okay. Oops. What is going on? All right, let's see if this works. I don't know, why do I get a beach ball? Seems like this application is not behaving. No problem. Oh, no, here we go. Okay. Nice, okay. So this should be working. So we've got our nutrition scanner here, and when I turn it on, you can see the behind the scenes. So this is how stuff looks like here. Hello. All right. So let's take a picture of this dish here, and then let's see what it thinks about it. So now, the model will start thinking about the dish. It will identify the key elements, it has identified that this is eggplant parmesan. It's now detecting how many calories and how many macronutrients are in there. And now we've got our result. So it has detected Parmigiana di Melanzane, which is correct. So this is eggplant Parmigiana. We've got 18 carbs, 24 grams of fat, 14 grams of protein, and 340 kilocalories. So, and this is powered by this application here. And we've got a bunch of things that are key to that. So one of them is that we have a nutrition info struct that can carry all those pieces of information, you know, the name of the dish, the carbs, the fat, the protein, and the energy. And then further down here, we call the model to detect what is in the photo that we took. So here we set up the model. We're using Gemini 3 Pro Preview. Here is our prompt. And here we call the generate content stream method. And up here, we've got the schema. And the schema is really important because that helps the model to understand how this works. So that is the application. Let's now look at how the script works. So I'm giving you a little behind the scenes here. So this is the document that I use to write my script. And you can see this is a 2-column script. On the left-hand side, you can see what I'm saying on camera. On the right-hand side, you see what is happening. And the right column also contains all of the code snippets that I want to use. So it's a rather short video, so it's probably less than 10 minutes. And now let's start building the code slides for it. So I'm going to go over to Keynote. And this is the Keynote presentation that I used for another video in this series. And this apparently is for remote config. And I use this because it already has a bunch of things that I can just reuse. For example, it's got this nice highlighter here that we can use, and it's got the correct setup for the slides. We also have the guidelines here that make it easier for us to arrange stuff. And yeah, so let's just do that. So the first thing that I want to do is do something really simple. So in the beginning, there is no code, but here is the first code snippet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new section in here. And I'm going to use a white slide and then just paste this thing here so to make it easier for me to navigate. So the next thing, we need a slide that we can use for the code, and I'm just going to copy and paste that, and then I'm going to press tab once to indent that, and this gives me this really nice, so this gives me this really nice outline structure so that I can collapse and expand it. So, but this code here is apparently not the right code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my application, and then I'll look for the code that I need, and that's this one here. So the cool thing is that if you copy code from Xcode into Keynote, it will carry all the formatting information. And you might notice that I'm using a bunch of different fonts here. And we can take a quick look at my settings here, at my theme. So I'm using a custom theme that's called Firebase Pro, and it is based on the color theme in Firebase Studio. And if you folks are interested, drop a comment in the video or press the thumbs on the video, and then I'll know that I'll make this available for you. And you can see that the font I'm using is monospace neon for plain text, and for strings it is monospace krypton, and for characters we've got neon. Yeah, so it's probably mostly neon and krypton, I think. Yeah. So that means if we copy this, and let me copy this entire thing here to demonstrate that. So I'm going to copy that, then go over to Xcode, to Keynote, and I'm going to move this out of the way for a moment, and then paste this, and because I use Command Option Shift V to paste, it kept the formatting of the target, but it completely discarded the formatting of the source. So let's undo that and just Command V, and now you can see that the colors are correct, but apparently the fonts are way too small. So what we're going to do is I'm going to increase the font size. If possible, I use 88 points, and that seems like it might just work. And now you can see that it carried the correct font information. So we've got monospace neon and we've got monospace krypton frozen. Really nice. But there is one small problem, and I'm going to demonstrate this by putting this white background, box in the background. So I'll put it here, and now you can already see the problem. So when we copied the code, we also copied the background color, and that's not good. I mean, it looks okay. It looked okay before we pasted something else, and that is going to be a problem because we want to animate that. So before we go on, let's just remove the background color. So my preferred way to do this is just do that, and then it's good. There is another way, and I'll quickly show you that. It has one advantage and one drawback. So let me first show the drawback. So if I go and use PF Mono Keynote Dark, I think that's the right one. No, that's not the right one. This one? Nope. No, that's also not the right one. Yeah, it's this one. All right, so so if you do that, you'll notice that it becomes really difficult to read the code, right? Because all of the special characters here are very, very dark. So, but if I copy that and go back into Keynote, and then let's duplicate this slide, duplicate, and then remove that. Oops. Okay, so that is because Keynote is trying to be smart and thinks, oh yeah, this for sure looks like a spreadsheet. So what we need to do is put a text and then go into the text. So now there is another thing. So this color theme was made for a light mode slide. So here, right? So this looks a lot better. And there is another issue, and I think let's try this one more time. Okay, let's go here. Okay, copy that and then paste. Well, it depends on, this is a dark mode slide deck, so it doesn't work that way anyways. Let me quickly find one of my talks, and then I think in that one it will work. Yeah, here you go. So if we take that slide, paste it here. Okay, copy this code and paste it here. Well, okay, so maybe we still need to update the font size. Okay, but you see that the background is transparent. So if I move this thing and put it in the back, everything is fine. So this is another way to make sure that your code is transparent. So basically go into Xcode and create a color theme where the background is transparent. But the drawback is that it's really, really difficult to read. And also it's so large. And that is why I prefer to adjust the transparency in my Keynote window. All right. So long story short, here's our first code snippet. And this part here is not really relevant for the script, because here's what I'm saying. I've defined a Swift struct called nutrition info. It conforms to Codeable and has properties for all the properties we see on screen. So I'm going to paste this here to make it easier for me in the editor to know which part of the script this is about. And then I'm going to move this into the middle, and you can see that Xcode is being nice and shows me what is the middle of the screen, right? So now let's look at our first animation. And I'm going to make a little bit more space here so that we can, it's easier for me to work. So we've got this highlighter here, and this highlighter is just a rectangle, a rounded rectangle with a color fill that is somewhat transparent. And so here is the color fill, and you can see that the transparency, that I turned down the transparency way down to 25%. So if I turn that back up, the thing will become opaque. So now let's go back to 25%. And I could even have just typed that. Nice. So the reason why this is semi-transparent is that we want to be able to highlight stuff. So in the script, I talked about Codeable. So let's go here and highlight the Codeable part. So I'm going to go here, put it there. And now you might be thinking, oh yeah, that looks good. But the problem is that now this is on top of Codeable. And so the color of Codeable is tinted, and that's not what we want. So I'll just send this to the back, and now you can see that the color looks much better let's look at that and this. So it looks much better. So always put your highlighter in the background. And there is another trick, so you can just drag this around, right? So you can take any element here in the object inspector and drag stuff around. So you might not have this view turned on by default, so you should go here into this menu, and then you need to turn on show object list, and that's how you get this list of all the objects on your slide. Cool. So what I want is when I talk about the Codeable protocol that it draws a line around the Codeable. So, and this is automatically, this is already set up. So I've got the line draw, but just so you know how to do that, I'll show it to you. So you select the rounded rectangle, select and add an effect in the animate menu, choose line draw, and then it depends on how long the line is, what is a good timing. I think 1.25 might look good. Right. And I can always click on preview to see how it works. And this animation will play on click. So typically when you when I do a presentation, I animate differently because I want to make sure that whenever I click, I jump to the next logical point in my narration. And that means if I talk about something that is on a slide, I want to make sure that I go to the slide and have the first animation play automatically. So I would select after transition, and then this line would automatically be rendered. But because of the way this video is going to be exported later on, I want to make sure that there is a 2-second gap between all of the animations, and that is why I select on click. Good. So let's do one more thing. Let's add a keyboard animation to this. And let's make sure that this plays right after the transition happens. And let's take a look at that. Oh yeah. I'll have to arrange. Nope. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That happens if you have too many monitors. Let's try that again. Or I'm going to show you another trick. Play in window. So play in window, that is exactly what we need now, because that allows us to play this in a window. And now I can tap next. Well, I should be able to tap next. Here we go. And then next, and here is our animation. Nice. So that is our first slide done. Let's go to the next one. Oh yeah, and then one more thing to make it easier for my editor to know what I'm doing. I'll make a copy of the slide. So I select the slide in my outline, Command C for copy, and then I go back into my Google Doc, and then I'll paste it here, and then my editor knows what should be on screen when I say this here. I mean, I could even be a little bit more prescriptive and do it this way. So I'm going to remove this, copy that, paste this, and then this goes into the next line. I'll undo that, copy this, paste it here. And now it's absolutely clear for my editor. I've defined a Swift struct called nutrition info, and then it conforms to Codeable, and that is the moment when the Codeable animation plays. So next I talk a little bit about why it used to be a problem to convince LLMs to render the correct, the correct output. And now we want to explain how this works. So on the right-hand column here, you can see that this is a build now. So we start with schema.object. And by the way, this probably is a typo. So we start with schema.object, and then we want to build this out. And it becomes more and more and more, right? So this is going to be a fun animation. Let's first create a new chapter. And I'm going to just, okay, so if you collapse this and then you duplicate this, you get a duplicate of everything that was inside, which is really convenient because I now have my code slide already ready to go. So let's put the text down here, and then I'm going to go into my code here. So now you see that we've got the finished state of the code, and we need the code in a state that is not finished yet. So what I typically do is I'll just create a dummy function like that, and then I'll copy everything I need, put it here, and then I remove everything I don't need for now, like that. And then I'll also outdent everything. So, and now it says, oh my God, like you missed this parameter. No problem, because that will not be copied when we paste. So here's our slide, paste, go back to the text, 88 points. Oh, okay. So now this is good. Let's bring this to the front and move it somewhere else. So it might actually be a good idea. I realized when I was talking about the font size that to get the final code on the slide. So let's try to do that. So I'll copy that, put it here. And the reason is so that we know if the font size that we want to use actually works. Okay, so 88. Oh, see, it might just be a little bit too large. Okay, so what we need to do is so first of all, I'm going to try to format this in a way that looks nice enough, right? So let's see if this works. Yeah, this is going to be quite the challenge to make it look nice and homogeneous, right? So what I'm thinking is, first of all, we need to make sure that we have more space. So let's see what happens if we go way down to 72. So this already looks a lot better because everything can stay on one line. And let's see if maybe 78 still works. That might still work. If we cut some of the stuff a little bit short. So let's do that. Nice. Okay, so now we can use a font size of 78 and still have all of the relevant code on a slide. And okay, so I want this to be the final state. So now we're going to work our way backwards. So I want to start here. So I will copy this entire block up here. And this text is going to be different. And then I will remove all of this and slide this down to the middle. If we look back at the script, it says the way we do this is by defining a schema object. This acts as a blueprint that tells Gemini exactly what keys and data types to use. So when this appears, we want an animation. We want the keyboard animation. So this has to go a little bit faster. And let's see. Nope. This. Okay, that's too fast. Yeah, this looks great. Okay, so now we've got that. The next step is we want to show the properties. And the script says, for example, we specify that the name of the dish is a string and that the carbohydrates, fat, and energy attributes all are integers. So we will go and make a copy of this. And now you'll learn the first trick. So we can do the following. We can take this, go here, and do that, and then slide this up. Okay. Now if we play, so the transition from this one slide to the next slide is a magic move transition. So it will automatically morph between those objects. Let's see how it works. So this can go away. So it does not work well. And that is why, and let's play this in the window so you can see better what's happening. Okay, so this is the slide, and now here is the next slide, and this is not what we want. I want this to open up and the other text to appear. So the first problem is that this is still using a keyboard animation. So we need to remove that keyboard animation, plain window. Here we go. And now it used a fade animation. So why did it use a fade animation? Because we said match a fade unmatched objects. And you can also see that we use match by object. So Keynote is trying to match this block of text here to this block of text here, and that is just not the same object. So let's try using by word, and we can play it here. Yeah, so this looks a lot better, right? So we could probably use that. Yeah, I mean, that is not too bad. We can do that. Yeah, let's, why not? Why not? Let's do it this way. And I'll show you a couple of other ways to do it as well. All right. Oh, also, by the way, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask them and I'll try to answer them. So looking at Twitter, I don't know what's happening in Twitter. Is this playing? YouTube is playing, LinkedIn is playing. I don't know. Twitter seems to be having problems. I don't know if it's me or if it's Twitter, but, well, oh, maybe it is playing. Anyways, yeah, so if you've got any questions, please fire away and ask them. Okay, so there are already a couple of people who said something. Do animations play in reverse if you go back in the slide deck? No, they don't. And that is sometimes, so it's good that they don't because that would look funny. And it's sometimes also awkward because you have to go back to go to the point where you want to go. There is a context menu that you can open and you can select the slide you want to go back to. So that is what I would recommend. And then the other question, you previously built an MCP server for Keynote. Have you tried seeing if an MCP server or Gemini with computer use enabled can make animation slides for you? That is on my long list of things that I want to look at. So once I have time for that, I will definitely try doing that. So, we've got our first animation here, and now once we come here, I want to use the highlighter again, and I want to highlight this part, and I want it to be a playful animation. So it's already in the background, and we have got a line draw animation, so that will play once we and you know what, like I'm gonna do after transition to make it easier for me now. So this is gonna play after we enter the slide, and now what I want to do is I want to move it over to string. So also let's copy this and put it here. Okay, so duplicate the slide, then take this thing here, drag it over here, like that, and disable the animation. And now what should happen is the following. We first see our first animation. It appears, here's our thing, and now it moves over. Let me double check. Oh yeah, I know. So this should not play automatically. So that is a problem. And this should play after transition. This should play on click. This should play after transition. This should play on click. And on click after transition. Okay, let's do this one more time. So first animation, go to the next slide, highlight detected dish. This is a string. And now in the script, it says something about and that all the other, and that the carbohydrates, fat, and so on are integers. Okay, so first of all, let's place the screenshot here so Lucas knows what we're talking about. Take that. Well, put it here. Take that one, put it here. And now we are here. Oh yeah, I should also do this. Ta-da. Okay, so now I want to highlight carb. Oh, yeah. So I made a mistake. Let's go back to the script. So in the script, we can see that I only want to show the types, not yet the descriptions. So let's undo that. So live streaming is hard, folks. So go back. Okay. Okay, so. All right, and now you see a couple of problems here. The color changed, not good, but we can just take this. No, we can't. Okay. And yeah. This is really a little bit annoying. I mean, this is one of the things in Keynote that I really don't like. Oh, and also, did you notice it automatically turned this into a smart quote? So that's also something that we need to fix. Anyways. Good. Yeah, so you come with, no, come with me, and then the indentation is also wrong. All right, so all the quotes are correct, indentation is correct, we only have the types. So let's move this to the middle, play in window, ta-da, go to the next one. Okay, so this was the detected dish. Let's make sure this is pixel perfectly aligned. Fit slide, animate, build order, line draw after transition. Let's take a look. Yep, nice. Okay, let's duplicate. Let's, send this to the back. Select, extend this like that, send it to the back. Okay, so, and this again, so on the first slide, this can be a line draw, but on the second slide, this must not be a line draw, but not an animation, so that we get the nice magic move effect. This one. Bam, that is what we wanted. So, oops, let's copy this, paste this here, take this, paste this here, and now we can look after the carbs and all the other ones. Bring this to the front, and now what I'm going to do is expand it like this. And this gives us the following animation. Ooh, nice. Good. And let's make sure that we have the correct text. Copy the slide, paste it here. Okay. Next. Now the script talks about the meaning of the individual properties, for example, to make sure that the macros are expressed in grams. So what we need to do now is a little bit more complicated. So first of all, I want to make sure that when we go to the next slide, this highlighter disappears. What I do typically to do that is I go here to create a build out animation, and then I will use disappear, and that will just make it go away like that. And then do that on click, but automatically transition to the next slide. Let's play this. No, let's go to the previous one. Play this. Like so. Next step, it goes away. And we go to the next slide. And again, this is a keyboard animation, so let's remove that and try this one more time. Okay, so it faded. Let's try to do by a word and see what happens. So that actually was not too bad. Oh, also, did you notice that we completely forgot the properties? Well, well, well. Okay. That is the reason why we had the indent. So if you think that this is a little bit tedious, it is. And it is pretty much how those slides come to be. So, I mean, minus the, there are one or two things that one or two mistakes that I made that I typically wouldn't make because, live streaming is difficult. But yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun. Let's do this. Nice. So that is fine. Let's copy this entire thing. Let's copy it here. Is it in the middle? Okay. Let's animate this over here. And then like that. Make sure it's in the middle. Make sure this is wide enough. Okay, let's be sure and play this one more time. Yeah. So I said this looks surprisingly good because oftentimes it doesn't. Right? Oftentimes you'll have characters flying all over the place, and for that you need a different strategy. But this here works fine, so we'll just keep it. The only thing that we need to make sure is that we use our highlighter appropriately. So first of all, put the text here. And now let's use a highlighter and highlight the, the macros are expressed in grams. Okay, and to be sure that this is correct, we can zoom in. And you can move elements around using your arrow keys, and you can see that this moves. Oh, this is the wrong one. So it moves the element by 1 point. But you could also go here and do it like that. Just what you like. You can also type in the values. And of course you can use guides, so you can drag a guide from the ruler by just dragging it using your mouse and then put it somewhere and then use that as an alignment guide. Nice. So put this to the bottom. Let's double check what the animation says. Yep. Fit slide. Preview. So let's try how this looks if we highlight all the carbs, the macros. So go here. Go here. And oh yeah, that's a different thing. Oh, and probably so I think it's this part that guides the model. So what I want to achieve is to have these appear in short succession. So let's go into our build order. So I've selected the first one that should appear after the transition. The next one should appear after the first one, and the last one should appear after the second one. So let's take a look at that. That's nice, but I'm not quite happy with the padding. Okay, I think that's better. So if that is what you want, that's great, but there is a different way how you can do it. So if you want to make sure that these start roughly at the same time, but still after each other, we know that this line draw takes 1.25 seconds. So what we can do is I can say I want this to start with build 1 and with a delay of 0.5, for example. And for that one, just the same with build with build 1, and then probably with a delay of 1 second. Let's see. Yeah, actually I think these need to start much quicker after each other. So 0.2 maybe, and then this one 0.4. Yeah, that's probably something that I'll play around with. So watch the final video to see what I ended up with. All right, so, and that is our next animation here. So we can copy that final slide and paste it here. Good. Nice. Let me check one thing. So I've got a visitor coming at 3:30. Yeah, so we're still good. So next, this code snippet here. We then pass the schema to the generation config for our model along with the MIME type application JSON. So what I want, so I want this to be a little bit of storytelling. So I want to show this piece of code here, but in the following way. So I want the generation config to appear, like I want this text block to appear. Then I want this part to be animated using a keyboard animation. And then I want this part, maybe this part can be there all of the time already. And then at the end, we're going to move this parentheses down and have this part up here. Let's try that. So I think I'm going to create another section, and I'm going to call it model configuration. Configuring the model. So we will so with the model config in place, we can go ahead and configure our model. Okay, so we will start out by setting up the generation config. Let's find that part. So here we are. So we need that bit of code here. And again, I'm going to go up into my dummy function so that I can mess around with the code without worrying too much about breaking anything. Yep. So the compiler complains that this doesn't work because it's a let constant, which works fine because, in the real code, it works fine because we run that in the initializer. Oh, also, we don't talk about thinking in that part of the video, so we'll remove that. And then we'll just take this and we'll bring it over here, paste, and you know the drill. Format the text, 88 characters. We'll do this. We'll copy the entire thing. So we'll build up the final state first. 88 point, and don't forget to make this transparent. Move this to the front so we can pick it and move it somewhere else. So that is the final state. And now let's duplicate this and start building this from scratch. Okay, so we don't need the highlighter now. This can be a keyboard animation, probably 2 seconds. Let's see. Yep, 2 seconds looks good. Duplicate. Now I want to have these appear. Let's see how this looks. Okay, fade unmatched objects. Why is this? Oh, yeah. Let's try by character. Oh, sure. This is a keyboard animation. We don't need that. And let's go back to animating by word. Yeah, so this is okay. But I'll show you a way to do this in a more beautiful way. First of all, I'm going to, and pay attention, this is very tricky now. So first of all, I'm going to copy that, paste this, and then align it perfectly over the existing text. A good way to do that is to use the dots on the colons. And if I move this around, you can see that now it's perfect. Yeah, you can use those to perfectly align it. So fit to slide. And then I'll double click on the first line, go to the home of the first line, go to the home of the second line, select until the end of the first line, hit backspace to delete the second line, go to the third line, do the same. So now the original text is kind of hollowed out, if you will. And then I'm going to add another effect here, and we will use keyboard effect like that. So let's see how this animation looks like. Ooh. Nice. See, that looks so much better. And we'll make sure that this plays directly after transition. Great. So that's the first part. And let's copy the text. When we pass the schema to the generation config for our model, along with the MIME type application JSON. Yeah, that's really for both of these. And then paste this here. Create a new line. Oh. Copy this down here. And then I think we will highlight the MIME type. So do we have a highlighter? Yep, here is the highlighter. And we will put this here. And here, send this to the back. Make sure it's a line draw animation. Build order after build 1. Let's see. Nice. Okay. So this goes here. With the generation config in place, we can go ahead and configure our model and call generate content just like normal. So, and here you can see that I didn't pay much attention when I wrote this script because there is a lot going on and not much words to go along with it. So that means that the animation will either have to play very quickly or that we'll have to insert a couple of pauses in post. So let's see how this goes. Let's make a duplicate of that. Oh, I also just noticed that there is a stray highlighter. I copied the wrong slide. That's the right one. Good. So I'm thinking that we should probably have this piece here in place all of the time. Okay, so like that. So let's just add this here. And now for making sure that it sits at the right position, I'm going to go here, add an empty line, type let, and then move this up to align it properly. Then undo all of those changes. And now we can bring this to the front. Highlight that, highlight this. And then we'll connect those using a connector. Double click to turn it into a rectangular connector. And then let's see, 10 point for the line. 10 points. Stroke line. Is this a normal stroke? All right, so we need to use a different color. Let's move this color over here. Select the connector. Pick the color. And then, as for animating that, we will highlight this first. After transition, this must not be highlighted. Then we want to highlight, animate the connector line draw, and to start, 1 second, and do that after this, and then line draw for this one. Bam. Nice. And then these two need to go to the back. Connection line can stay in at the front. Let's play this in the window. Yep. I think that looks nice enough. The only thing that I'm not happy with is that this automatically transitions. So yeah. Okay. Let's see what's next. So we should probably, yeah, so this will be a tiny challenge for my editor because there is no text to go along. With the generation config in place, we can go ahead and configure our model and call generate content just like normal. So what we'll do is, so we no longer need this, so I'm going to skip this slide. And then I'm going to duplicate this one here, put it here. And then we will remove these, select everything, scroll it up to the top like that. Then take this piece of code, put it here, format text. What was the font size? Not 88. Oh, it was 88. Was it? For real? Yes. 88, transparent. And then Hey, Minecraft learner, thanks for joining. What brings you here today? Okay, and now we can remove this, and this can become an animation with a keyboard animation like this. And probably, yeah, we should include the prompt. Where is our playground? Okay, here we go. So format 88, transparent. So we need to reformat this a little bit. Yeah, let's remove this part here so we have more space for our also. Yeah, this should be fine. So now this I want to animate using keyboard. Like that. Nice. Build order after transition. Let's take a look. Plain window. We also probably should move that up. Yep. So you see everything that we did so far was centered in the middle, and here we didn't do that. So let's just select everything and move it up to the middle. Nice. Okay, that's looking good. Let's copy that, paste it into our document here. And now we talk about how you can decode the JSON. And that is happening down here. So in order to make that happen, we need to iterate over the result. So we'll copy this bit here, put it here, and remove everything that we don't need for the moment. And then get our JSON decoder. So I've got 9 more minutes until my visitor said they were going to be here. So let's see if they're on time and if I can finish this until then. So let's give it a try. So this is where we talk about generating the content, and that is here. Paste this here, duplicate the slide, remove that, and now I want to slide this off the screen. So I only want to keep this last line here. Select everything, roll this way up like that. Make sure that this one stays here. And then double check how this looks like. Oh, it will not work because we still have animation. Nope, we still have animations. So go in, remove those animations, and then play this in the window. And now it moves up, boom, like that. Nice. Also, why does it always have to play automatically? Nice. So we've got that. Now we can take this and put it here. Format 88 points. Transparent. Oh, that was over. Is that perfect? I can't believe it. Did I just accidentally move this to the perfect place? This is unbelievable. I must be in the flow. All right. Let's break this apart. Let's go to the script and get our texts. Put it down here. Nice. So we can use a keyboard animation for that. Keyboard. And then we'll get a highlighter and decode it using Swift's JSON decoder. Send to back. Like that, and then we'll make another copy of that. So put this here. This goes into the next line. And now I want to highlight we populated our Swift struct. Bring this to front. You know what, like, I'm always in two minds. Like, on the one hand, you know, it would work if we remove the self, but it also tells a story. So I'll keep it here. The reason why I wanted to move this is it might make it easier to highlight the interesting bits and pieces. Yeah, we populated the Swift struct, so this is what we need to highlight. But this is the population part, right? Okay, so no, still too large. 75. Okay, this is looking good. Get it to the background. And send this to the back. Let's double check. So these should not be animated on this slide. Fit slide, plain window. Yep. Move everything up. Show this bit. Highlight the decoder. Oh, yeah, see. So these must not be animated. Nice. And I think I'll also want to fine-tune this a little bit. Good. Fit slide. And now we can copy this and this. Nice. So, and these were all the code slides we needed for this script. So I can now save that, remove everything else in here, and then I'll show you how to export that. So you'll go File, Export to, Movie, Self-Playing. We export in 4K, 60 FPS, H264. Save as, make sure that we are in the correct folder. It's this one. Export. And now it will export. All right. And this will take a bit. I'll play this once it has exported to verify it's correct. Yeah, so this is how I built my animated code slides. I hope you learned something from it. It is quite laborsome, I'll give you that. But as I mentioned before, it's a lot of fun. Also, you've got utmost control over what's happening. And I feel it gives me a very high level of quality. There are other tools that make this a lot easier. For example, there is Slide Dev, which works on Markdown. So you can put your code into Markdown files and then transition between the individual stages. You can highlight individual lines or dim individual lines. And while this works great, I think, I like this approach here better because I feel it gives me much more control over the end result. So let's see, just a couple more seconds and then we'll have our video. Okay, it's finished. Here we go. Wrong window. Oh no, it wants to play in Apple TV. What the hell? Let's preview and preview. So all the slides are now animated in with default timing. So I've just noticed that I'll need to go back in and make sure that the transition between a code slide and the section slides is not animated, because if it is, you'll go through this gradient from dark to white, and that makes it extra difficult for my editor, which I don't want. So I'll make that small adjustment. But other than that, I think this is looking really good. Yeah. So the next step is to upload that to Google Drive, ping my editor. Oh, well, I also need to create a couple of screencasts. But once that is finished, upload that to Drive, ping my editor. They'll load it into Premiere and then assemble it with the camera footage that we recorded a couple of weeks ago. This will be uploaded to Frame.io, where I can review it, leave comments, and then we'll discuss the timing and stuff like that. And then soon enough, the video will be finished and uploaded to YouTube. And you got a sneak peek of the content already over here. So nice. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope you learned something. Please let me know if there is anything else you'd like me to cover in terms of Keynote animations, or if anything didn't make sense to you. Also, if you found a different way to achieve the same results, let me know. I'm always happy to hear how to optimize that and optimize my own workflows. I have a bunch of ideas what else I want to do on this show. So you might have been wondering, why is it called Force Unwrapped? And the reason why it's called that is that I want to show you how I actually work without having prepared a lot of stuff. So there are a couple of things that I've got in mind that I'm planning to do on this show. And I'm always open for suggestions. So if there is anything that you would like to learn about my work, let me know. And if possible, I will cover it in one of the next live streams. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.